Love, they say, is a very beautiful thing. When it comes to the matters of the heart, it can be very complicated. Many times, love has become sour when couples who have been together for weeks, months, and sometimes years have to go their separate ways on grounds like ethnicity, religion, and even genotype. Today, we're going to be looking at the implications of genotype and love. Many people have decided to damn the consequences. I mean, AS and AS shouldn't get married, right? But some people would say, nah, I'm in love and this love has to continue. So with me today to have this conversation is Mrs. Tumininu, a pediatric nurse from the University College Hospital, Ibadan. I'm right.
Yes.
You're welcome to the show, ma.
Thank you, ma'am.
It's nice to have you in the house.
Nice to meet you too.
Alright, so before we get started, let's go on a short break. You know the drill now. Don't swipe up, don't swipe down. We'll be back soon for this very interesting conversation. Stick with us. Alright, ma.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you for coming today.
Thank you, ma'am.
My first question to you is, many times, especially those of us, newlyweds, people that are single, people that are looking for husbands, I often hear, I have a friend who is AS, his genotype is AS, and one day he said to me, oh, I can't just fall in love with anybody, I have to fall in love with sense. And that just bothers me. But really, we have people that are ready to damn the consequences, and they decided that against all odds, they will get married. That's the AS and AS genotype. So I want to ask, what is the implication of two people of the AS genotype getting married to each other?
Yes, thank you. The implication of two people with incompatible genotype getting married is that they have the probability of having 25% of having an offspring, 25% of having an offspring that is having a genotype SS. Let me explain. When we were in secondary school and we were doing that biology, if you cross match one AS with the other AS, usually when you cross match it, the first A goes to the other one, bringing A.
Yes.
The A cross match with the other S, bringing AS. Then like that. But usually people will say that people want to look at it at that trend that okay, the first child will be AA, and the second will be AS, the second again will be, the third will be AA, and it's only the last one. So once I give birth to the first child, it will be AA, the second will be AS, and third will be AS, then the last one will be SS. No, it is probability. The cross matching does not mean that the first child will be A. So the probability of having AS child being the first child does not mean that when they come together they will have SS being the last child. The SS child can be the first one, it can be the second one. In fact, they can have, out of the 4 children, they can have 3 sickle cell patients. Actually, we now call them warriors, because with the help of health workers taking care of them, we don't usually call them sickle cell again because of the stigma that is attached to the word sickle cell. So we call them warrior. But in fact, so I want us to know that the fact that you are coming together does not mean that you have the first and second. Maybe the first one will be normal and the second and the third will be traits. So you can have the 3 children, 3 offspring to be SS. You can have the 4 of them. I've even seen a family of having SS children.
How do they even manage?
I have seen some like that comes to the clinic, bringing 3 children to the clinic at the same time.
That's like torture for the family.
Yes. And the psychological and the financial implication of taking care of sickle cell patients, it's a serious thing. If you want to take care of sickle cell child, if you are not financially okay, you won't be able to achieve your goal, because they have to be on daily drugs, and you don't have money to buy those drugs. That means the children will suffer. Then psychologically, the pain that the child is going through, even as the child is going through the pain, the parents who are passing through the phase. So having a sickle cell child in a family is not what one can just decide to go further.
But that takes me to my next question. I saw your YouTube video where you were talking about, okay, you are deciding to damn the consequences and you're saying against all odds, I don't care what my parents say, because I know in Africa we don't joke with things like that. I know some churches would even ask you to bring your test result and to ensure that you are compatible. But I've also heard of people that say, oh, we're still going to get married. How can they prevent having these sickle cell children?
Actually, the first thing I will always want to advise anyone is to break the courtship. If you actually want to break the cycle of having SS child, you have to break the courtship. That's the perfect way of breaking the cycle. But there are some other options if they still want to damn the consequences and they want to get married. Like the first one I usually tell people is natural conception. In natural conception, the couple will get pregnant naturally, and after getting pregnant naturally, you have to wait for like 10 weeks or 13 weeks. In the 10th week, the sample of the baby in utero will be taken by an expert, and they will discover the type of that genotype. If the baby is genotype SS, that means we advise the couple to terminate the pregnancy.
Sorry, 10 weeks is like how many exactly?
10 weeks is 2 months and 2 weeks.
Wow,
so that is the downside.
Really?
They wait for like about 2 months for them to go for the investigation. So a needle will be inserted in the abdomen, they tap the sample of the embryo, they will do the investigation so we can easily discover the genotype of that baby. So if the baby is SS, we advise the couple, because we want to break that cycle, we advise the couple to terminate the pregnancy. And the downside is that, one, the tension waiting for 10 weeks, even after taking the sample, after taking the sample, you have to wait for the result to come out. The agitation of waiting for the result to come out.
How many weeks does it take?
It takes like maybe few days for them to see the results. Then the investigation is not something that is very cheap. It's not cheap at all. Then the side effect of normally if you do a surgical abortion or medical abortion, there are 1 or 2 complications that is associated with this procedure. So they are also faced with this danger of the complication around the termination of the abortion. So that is the downside. That is natural conception. So by doing this, they will successfully break the cycle. The other thing is pre-implantation genetic diagnosis, whereby the sperm and the ovum will be fertilized in a petri dish. So after fertilizing it in a petri dish, then we will now take the sample of the embryo to know the type of the genotype. Once the genotype is discovered to be SS, then we ignore such a baby. But the other, they will have fertilized like 2 or 3 embryo. So the ones that are AA will be implanted into the mother's womb.
Okay, so that's IVF now?
It's a special kind of IVF whereby you predetermine the type of genotype a baby is having before you implant that embryo into the womb of the mother.
That's also very expensive.
It is about 99.9% effective, because you will have known the genotype of the baby, but very expensive, about 3 or 4 million.
But is it good? I mean, there are people who have done this IVF, and when they insert it, I hear things like it didn't stay.
Yes.
So is that?
I also talk about the downside. The downside is that it is very expensive. Two, in Nigeria here, we don't have many people that does that in Nigeria. We have very few that can do that in Nigeria. So it is not what everybody is doing, that okay, if I don't get it done here, I'll go to the other place. So it is to get it done is very scarce. So, but we are talking about the effectiveness. It is about 99.9 effective, but expensive and scarce to do. Then what else? That's the downside. Then the third one that we want to talk about is IVF.
Okay.
If you really want to break the cycle, you do a special kind of IVF whereby a woman with genotype AA will donate for that family, will donate egg for that family, or a man with genotype AA will donate sperm for that family, so that we can break the cycle. But how visible is that in Africa? Because
Nigeria,
even the couples after getting married, if they don't weigh the consequences, by the time they are into it, the husband will be asking the wife, my dear, okay, so if you get someone that is AA now to donate sperm,
you collect.
who is the owner of the baby? The husband will ask the woman. Even if it's the woman can also ask the man, my dear, if I allow a lady to come and donate for you now, donate a lady with a genotype AA to donate egg for you, I hope later you won't say that I'm not the owner of the child. There's agitation for the two.
And then how do you know that the person that even donated this sperm will not wake up one morning and say, the baby belongs to me?
Yes.
I mean,
actually, in that sense, there's a documentation that is backing it up, that once you donate, it is just like donating blood. If you donate blood, you can't come again and say, yes, I donated blood for you yesterday, give my blood.
I mean, if you donate sperm, you will see the results. Unlike blood, yes. I mean, you will see a child that looks like you, yes. Right? Wow.
Then the downside in this one is that, one, the agitation between the husband and wife. Then secondly, if you are talking about IVF is not something, actually the price is coming down. It's about 800 to 1 million, 1.2, 2 million. It's somehow expensive to some people, even though some people can still afford it. Then the extra cost comes to when you want to get somebody to donate for you. The person that is donating sperm for you or the egg, we collect money too. So that is the downside, but it is also very effective. Then another thing is adoption. Adoption. But in Nigeria, it has not been totally.
I mean, I can imagine trying to get married.
A young couple.
My father is asking me, hey, so now that you want to marry this AS man, and you're also AS, what's the plan? I feel adult. It's not even what they want to hear.
It seems impossible, except you didn't discuss your plan with anyone. But if the couples want to do that, to adopt, if they actually adopt and they adopt healthy children, that means we have actually been able to break the cycle. But how easy is it for a newly or young couple to say, no, we'll be just looking at each other's faces, saying hello,
in fact, you will next thing you hear, let's just try. Next thing
yes.
I mean, it's just going to be difficult to get into marriage knowing that your end good, except maybe there's something wrong with fertility. Yes. But the husband is fertile, the wife is fertile, and they will. I mean, it's every African and grandmother's to have her own grandchild. Wow.
Then the last one that is also working for people, but it is not common, is what we call childless marriage. A young couple will marry, and they will decide to say, we are not going to get offspring, we are not going to get children because we want to break the cycle. I don't know how, I have not seen anyone, but if they can actually say that they want to, because they love each other and they don't want that love to go like that. So
I don't even know what to say.
So how visible that is but in Nigeria, but in other countries, they can decide not to have children.
I mean, it's really painful.
But society frowns at it. Our religion frowns at it. Parents frowns. Every social.
But I think that the pressure will come more from the in-laws and the parents. Everybody will start asking you how far. I think that's the Nigerian thing. Once you get married, they are already helping you look at your stomach and say, they have not seen anything. Then you can imagine now coming to say, no, we are trying to have a childless marriage. So that takes me to my next question, at the end of the day, what would be your advice to people who want to stay? I mean, so I heard a story of some people that found out close to their wedding because the church made it mandatory. All along, the man thought it was AS. It was like few weeks to the wedding. He now found out that it was FS. So, as somebody that works in the pediatrics unit of the hospital, you see these children every day. You see the struggle that the parents go through, and you see how frustrating it is. What would be your advice to young intending couples?
The example you cited is a very, very common example. You know, while along the line during courtship, the husband and the wife to be will have done their genotype, and the two of them will have been hey. But just maybe few months to the final ceremony, and they will just discover that one of them is having a trait of sickle cell, and they will find it very difficult in breaking up. But the genetic counseling that we normally and we usually give to would be husband and wife is that they should try and break up. They should try and break up. They should try and break up so that we can break the cycle.
I feel like crying. I can imagine being
the one. They should try, because you have seen the pros and cons of the 5 phase: the conception, the natural conception, the pre-implantation diagnosis, the IVF, the special IVF I talked about, the adoption method, and the childless marriage. You can see how easy. So if that is not going to be easy for them to break the cycle, I think they should find it separating.
But if they never find love again, what if I just we break up, say everybody go your separate way? Where do we start?
No, they will still find. They will still find. They will still find. Because the thing, let me explain this crisis to you. Maybe when I tell the public, they will know. Normally, the normal blood shape allows a normal flow in the blood vessel. The shape of the red blood cell allows it when the blood, normally blood should flow easily in the blood vessel. But because of the normal red blood cells, the shape makes it to be flexible for the blood to flow easily in the narrow blood vessel. That is a normal red blood cell, and which is by concave disc. But in the case of sickle cell child, the child red blood cell is sickled in form of S or in form of C. That makes it abnormal and makes it very difficult for blood to flow. What is the function of blood?
Everything. It carries oxygen.
It carries oxygen, nutrients to the lungs, to the tissue cells, and maintain body temperature and all that. So now that the blood is not flowing easily, now there is stoppage of blood in the blood vessels. What will happen? Once there is there is a stoppage in the flow of blood, definitely the oxygen is depleted. So you will not be able to supply the cells, the tissue, the organs, and
that's why they always fall sick.
They will fall sick. They go through different type of crisis. They have vaso-occlusive crisis, whereby there will be slowing down of that blood in the blood vessel, or there will be stoppage of the blood in the blood vessel. At times they will have aplastic crisis, in which the bone marrow will not be able to produce red blood cells. At times there will be sequestration, whereby the blood vessel, the red blood cells will accumulate in the spleen, causing pains and enlargement of the abdomen. Just imagine, then because of those inability of the blood to flow easily, there will be swollen hands, swollen legs, pains everywhere, and pains could be acute, it could be chronic, it could be troubling pains, it could be excruciating, it could come in the middle of the night, it could come right anytime. You will appreciate it if you see a child passing through pain. So I think if a couple, the would-be couple wants to further, they should try and go to where they are taking care of these children and see. Yes, if they see, I think they will be willing to stop.
It should even go beyond just having the conversations. There should be a way that, if I come to the hospital for counseling, but it's not allowed in Nigeria. I don't know if it's allowed. If you people would allow these intending couples come into the pediatrics ward to see children like that.
You can do that, because that is going to be with the consent of the parents. With the consent of the parents, you can be allowed to do that. So, and depending on the hospital policy,
Okay, no, one more thing. I've heard of bone marrow transplant.
Yes.
Okay, does that work?
It works. It works, but it's very expensive too, and it is not easily. You can't easily come by the bone marrow transplant. Maybe let me just go to one local hospital or go to federal hospital. It is not all the federal hospital in Nigeria that is doing it. We have a particular ones that are doing it. It is not easy to come by. Then it is very expensive, but it works. It actually works.
So at the end of the day, it's not even worth the stress.
I think so. So
I'm paying. So there you have it, guys. I mean, I am short of words myself. I don't even know how to feel. I can imagine being in a relationship for 3, 4, 5 years, and just as we're getting to the house,
and everybody in the town, they've already taken the guinea, and
I mean, thankfully I'm AA, so but I can only imagine what these people go through. But guys, you've heard the health implications, you've heard the choices you can make, and it's left to you. It's really left to you. Thank you guys for joining. I hope you had fun. I did. I'm still very emotional. So I hope to see you again next week. Thank you for joining. Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Hope to next time when we have pediatrics issues to discuss. We hope you will come. Alright guys, I'll see you next week. Bye guys.
Bye.
Hi. Did you learn something new today? Don't forget to like, subscribe, and click on the notification bell to get more of these amazing videos. See you soon.